All right. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Our chocolate crown community and audience. It's Sunday night. How you doing? How you doing? Let's check in and see what's going on. We are missing someone, as you can see. It is their birthday, so hopefully they will join us as planned for this wonderful conversation that we have scheduled for this evening. So check in from where you checking in from. And as usual, we usually start off with, well, no, before we do that, let me introduce my lovely guest this evening. I have a personal connection to both of you all in a very, very passionate, but we out in the trenches, like serving the people. And so, and we serving the people in a whole bunch of different ways, trying to be preventative, trying to create wellness, but most importantly, building their toolkit with education and so forth like that. So I guess because, I mean, I don't know if this is a political thing that we've bought into, but I'm gonna say ladies first. Miss Tamara, can you
Always.
introduce your voice to the audience?
Hello, hello. So my name is Tamara Anderson. I am happy to be here. I have had the pleasure of knowing Mary forever and ever and ever and ever. Literally, I feel like, and it's all been good stuff. Was really excited to be a part of this and just to be a part of this conversation to hear what's going on with everybody who's here.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Coolness. And the same with John. Like, we got long history too.
Yeah, yeah.
But it all brings wonderful things. So, John, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm John Cameron. I'm an educator. I'm an advocate for kids. I'm a therapist. I try to do a lot of things. I'm just happy to be here. America said we go way back. You know what I mean?
Way back. Yes. And so, as we always do, this is a community for kings and queens in our community to kind of build bridges, build
hmm
connections, but also build relationships because you never know who is watching either during the time or on the replay. And so,
Right.
the thing that we usually start off with is jumping into what's the community chewing the fat, like what's going on in our community that we need to like kind of peel back and share with everybody. And I don't know, like what's some news, what's some facts. We might have some heavy news too, but what we got?
Um, I'll start. I just really right now I'm just overwhelmed by the killings in Philadelphia.
Mhm.
And because I'm in
Truly.
education, I the names run by me, and I know some of them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
two boys got killed 2 days ago, just coming back from the DR, and um, my colleagues sent me pictures. And like I had these boys 2 years ago, and now
Mm-hmm.
they and I'm just trying to figure out how we can slow this down because right now where our numbers are going on, Philadelphia might be the first city that had to lose 500 kids
Right.
to murder,
Teenagers.
teenagers. Now we ain't talking about the rest of the other murders that group in, but we might lose up to
Mm-hmm.
500 teenagers at this pace. And I hate to start with the doom and gloom, but it's just too deep. It's too deep. It's just deep. I don't know. I don't know.
It's also the truth. Like, it's I don't know a teacher right now who hasn't been touched personally by this. I
Right.
don't know a family that hasn't been touched personally by this.
Mhm.
It's it is one of those it's one of those conversations. We go into mental health, we go into police, we go into fact it's too many guns. We there's a lot of different like avenues and
Mhm.
pathways. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, it's a loss of life, right? You have
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
you have children literally starting to not feel comfortable walking to the front door.
Right.
You have children starting to not feel comfortable to ride their bikes with their friends. You have
Mhm.
parents who are holding them a little closer. Like childhood is being erased in the midst of a time where, you know, we are fearful and, you know, people are being precaution and blah, blah, blah. But to get some fresh air and to really breathe that in, to make it till 20, that shouldn't be like a goal.
Right. Right.
And we have lived in Philadelphia where those rates have been lowered, you know, where they have been down. And something that, you know, sticks out to me when I look at those numbers when they're down is that those are the times that we have a lot of interagency support. Has an office at 440.
Right.
Mental health has not 2 emergency crews, but has lots of like more than the 2 that exist. Right. You have community organizations working together and not siloed off. So right, but it's also it's also just hard to figure out why when that happens it doesn't maintain outside of the obvious of money and people changing their mind about, oh, this was a good idea, but now it's not. So yeah, no, everything that John just said, like not to just go on and on. It's no, because I think anything that results in loss of life, especially for children, you know, it's always a question mark of why. Like, you know, like what was so, because, and then we also realize that many of these children are not the intended victim.
Correct.
So then you have to figure out, like, so when did we open up, you know, the wild, wild west, where it's just, you know, bullets flying in residential communities.
Right. Like, where do we get AR-15s just walking around with AR-15 assault rifles? Like, they not in Iraq nowhere. Like, why are they so accessible like that?
Yep.
You know?
Y'all know why? Why y'all dancing the why?
Yeah.
No, it is. I mean, the U.S. is like, when I don't even know how people can even not look at it, because everybody's, of course, like, well, like I like to quote Sam Jackson. He's like, I don't like guns, but I'm not going to be the only one without one. While we have them, right?
Right.
So we have to ask ourselves, why? How is it we have more guns per capita than war-torn actual countries in war, fighting each other across like lines for land, for like terrorism, for like religion, all these things. We as a country literally have more guns than those actual places that are at war.
And how they get here?
Right, and the question is
Feds brought them here. The feds brought them here.
No, because there's always a need. Like, we even have a new 45. Like, people don't talk about that ever. There's a new 45 that was specifically made. If you go to gun shows, this new 45 came out about 3 years ago. It's super cheap, cheaply made. Doesn't give the best shot if that's what you're looking for. And if you really dig down, not so deep, you realize that it was created specifically for people to kill each other. Because understand, what I think is interesting too is that white on white shooting is just as big as black on black shooting.
Absolutely.
It's unreported. Like, it's very common for you and your community to shoot each other.
Right.
I need people to also get that out. Like, I need people to stop thinking like it's just us.
Right. Right.
So you really want to help everybody, including yourself. You might just want to instead of having these little cheap little times where you give your gun and get your ShopRite card, you might want to just have a big truck come out and all guns go bye-bye. They, you know, do like what they did in New Zealand. What that lady, she had one mass shooting, and that prime minister said, "Oh, okay. So there will be no assault weapons."
Right. And she made it happen.
It's just that the NRA is political. They're a juggernaut.
And they're going to New Zealand now too.
Yeah, they're juggernaut.
about their non-for-profit making global trips.
Mm. So what about, and I'm gonna challenge you all because you work in this field all day long, just like me. And so it could be some attachment broken in the household, right?
Right.
It could also be some survival narrative happening from the household that people end up either following a legacy of loyalty of other family members who took this journey, or they could be following a pathway of survival that we don't have the financial stability to ensure that everything is maintained in our household, and we're getting penalized on multiple different levels. And so out of survival responses, we got to do whatever we got to do to make the bills come on the table, or to get Pampers for little Johnny, or to be able to just really make it from day to day. Like, I'm in tunnel vision and a little disconnected from what people may say the responsibilities of the world is supposed to be. So what is your thoughts about that?
I agree with you. It's a lot. But I work in the schools too. So the mindset of some of these kids is almost cold. Because everything around them, like, death is nothing to them.
Right.
Because they fear so much. So they overcompensate with the pills and the drugs. And you get that combination on top of all the trauma and the being loyal to the family who already been doing this, and you have a bad situation.
Right.
We got to teach these kids. They got to see some hope, because they're hopeless. They don't. You said, majority of them, they hoping they can get to 20.
Right.
If they get 25, they're like, "Woo! I made it.
I made it."
That's why. And that's one of the reasons why I started writing my book, The Pillars of Leadership for Boys, Parent Guide, because I was like, we got to step back and we got to re-educate our kid. Well, because I did the book for Black boys, to re-educate our Black boys. Mary, I worked in lockdown facility for years.
Absolutely.
So we got to get their minds changed. They don't think they can get past whatever 7th and Montgomery or Ogans Avenue or 32nd and Ridge. They can't see no farther than that.
They're 4-corner block radius.
4-corner block radius, and that's all they see. That's all they know. And the old heads ain't doing a great job.
Are the old heads around, or are the old heads behind bars?
It's a little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
They little bit of both. Some of them behind bars, and some of them buying pills from the young boys. You know what I mean? So you got a little. So it's just a whole full disconnection right now, and we got to educate these guys, and they got to see that there's wealth there. Last year at my school, we had a whole job fair just for plumbers and electricians and stuff like that. The guy that did help with the fair, he told me, he said, in the next 5-6 years, my age group, we're all going to retire. He said, these guys can get roofing jobs, they can get a union and make a boatload of money.
Right.
Because college ain't for everybody. College wasn't for me, just I could play a little football. That was it. That's
right.
it. But so we got to just not dummy down. We got to show them there's other means to that you can make it. Educate these parents. We got to go back to educate these parents.
Okay, so that was the next question I was going to ask you, but I don't want to take your thought away from what you were going to say.
So in my book, I put a little piece about just taking care of yourself as being a parent, and the self-care. And I talked about checking your own mental health. A lot of parents, they got their own mental health stuff going on. And if you sick, I can't help you if I'm sick.
Right.
So I got to
know you even sick.
Right.
If you even acknowledge that it's sickness, right?
And so I'm acknowledging that I'm okay because they've been dealing with someone. So helping them understand, you're not okay, and it's okay not to be okay.
Right.
But at this point on, let's start working on helping you becoming okay. I do believe that every person got a heart, and if you can get to them, you can change it. I work with killers, like straight killers, and I've seen them guys go to jail for the murder, and come out and own trucks and all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we gotta go back and reach them again. We dropping the ball on them. We're dropping the ball on them.
So then, what about going all the way back to the living room with the parents, right? But then also back to so the parents in partnership with the early education system. When there's no place in our sequence of K through 12 or pre-K through 12 that really talks about social regulation and your thoughts and your feelings, and like really owning into, like, we characterize it as feeling some type of way, and I got a video that's coming out about that soon too, but feeling some type of way, like, and we usually kind of colloquially say, okay, we feel some type of way, and we just brush it off and keep moving. But that's where the pause needs to happen, when you're looking at, we often stay in the consequence of how we see it in the media and the overall impact, and it's things that we miss in that conversation too. But at the core, where do we learn that being angry is normal, being frustrated is normal, or it's a general behavior that usually comes as a response to you hearing no or having a delayed gratification? So when we don't teach that, and there's certain, I guess, like our generation, I don't know, I'm guessing.
Well, I also go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm making control. Go ahead.
In our generation too, it's like, we said we're gonna have children and make sure that they don't have the struggles that we had. So then we kind of eliminate that conflict resolution, that dealing with the word no. So when it comes to them making their own decisions independently, and they hear no from somebody outside, it's the end of the world, and it's like a volcano tornado about to happen, ready to explode. So that's, I just want to, like, what's that? Like, how do you guys respond to that?
I mean, I want to do two things. One is there is actually a course for that in early childhood.
Okay.
The problem is, in most urban cities, anybody can open up a daycare center and say that it's early childhood. And you can hire people 14, 15 years old. So you have to be careful with, like, what is preschool? What is a preschool program, and what is just daycare? Because it is different. The problem is that, some of us don't really know it is, but it is. Like, I teach early childhood at Harcum. We both teach there. By the time students, they've been quote unquote teaching for like 15 years. But I have a concern about that. Like, what have you been teaching if you've never taken early childhood development? You've never taken neuroscience. You've never taken child psychology. You've never taken curriculum development for early childhood. So what have you been teaching besides making sure? And I also want to be very careful. It's a very nuanced conversation. It's not condemning or talking down.
Exactly.
I am saying that it is a skill.
Certain things you gotta love.
Right. I grew up in a generation where there weren't a lot of daycares. There were preschool programs in Chicago. And if we really go back to when Philadelphia had some of the number one preschool programs, I'm talking about kids were coming out of regular preschools at Houston, regular neighborhood schools, reading at a first grade level. Like, that was a thing in the 70s, 80s, and 90s here in Philadelphia. And it had a lot to do with the fact that when you took that away, what did you do? You took away also union work for early childhood.
Okay.
So that means when I do work at these neighborhood daycares and get $8 and $6 an hour, people are like, oh, that's whatever. That's connected to that. And so another thing we have to also talk about too is that 70% of our prison population are foster care kids. So we also have to not assume that they have a living room to sit in with family.
How about that?
Many of them are disconnected. When we closed 20 schools, especially closed Germantown High School, 500 kids just disappeared from the roster and never appeared again at King or anywhere.
Right.
Nobody talked about that. They just kind of fled into the dropout population. So we also have that. We also our students also bleed out of school. Forget college. They're not finishing school. Like, they're not getting to 12th grade.
Right.
And you can tell as a teacher, if I have seniors, you don't have to fight about small class size in a Philly public school if you're teaching seniors. You only got probably about 20 kids in your class because they leave after 10th grade.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, I
Like
How
it's
about
graduated
that?
from Brook. Well,
yeah,
it was like 900 of us when I graduated from Brook.
right.
I don't even think they got 200 kids there now.
That's what I'm saying. Like
Wow.
it is people don't stay. Like on average, if you went to like some of our bigger high schools in Chicago, like Whitney Young, if you had a class of 1,000,
Mm-hmm.
900 people graduated.
Yeah.
900
Right.
people graduated, right? And
Right.
the 50 that didn't graduate definitely got GEDs in your community at the church or something like that. Or they literally left because life happened. They either got locked
Right.
or they have something in the family, but the community helped them to like finish some kind of way. And
Mm-hmm.
many of them went on to college or went on to different things. But we also have to talk about like what type of skills, like what, okay, so another thing, we also have to stop making trips so difficult at the school district.
How about
You
that?
have to sign 25 pages. I remember when you could just go to your principal and be like, I want to take the kids to go see this play next week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Get a
Yeah.
print.
No red tape.
No,
Yes.
bye-bye. Because we have to understand too that a lot of taking them out to see other things used to happen in school.
All day
Mm-hmm.
And that
long.
was one of the reasons, even with me starting like the Gumbo Lab and doing art and doing art with kids and doing stuff like that, because I saw most of my students who went through my dance and drama and theater program, it made an impact, a lifelong impact on them.
Mm-hmm.
And like I have students that will tell me now that they 30. You know, I play Stevie Wonder for my kids all the time because you have us dance to it and da da da. Or I put my child in dance class. Or I
Mm-hmm.
learned how to speak up for myself because of your theater class.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like a lot of the stuff, instead of just trying to add more stuff, we need to bring back what used to be there.
And what used to work?
Right.
Right. Like if I remember, like, you know, Maya, my daughter got to go to Costa Rica, Guatemala. Those are school trips.
Right.
Like Philly public school trips. Now we raised money for that and they work, but it meant a lot to be in Guatemala and work in an orphanage. And
Right.
Okay.
work in an orphanage where many of their parents were either locked up because Guatemala has some very severe rules about their laws, or their
Mm-hmm.
parents were dead,
Mm-hmm.
or their
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Like to have that community for like 15 days and to build houses for families. That is something I can't teach you in any class.
Right.
And so we also need to include that. That why are we, I'm not saying like you can't take them to Wildwood, but how is it that more of our city knows about the Rocky statue and none of my kids know about the amazing Japanese tea garden that's in the art and museum?
Good point. Good point.
Very good point. Very, very good point. And it's like, why is there so much red tape in planning those specialized events that give them those natural skills? Because that's really what I'm talking about. Like, they don't have the natural skills to kind of cope with just a shift in life, like receiving, something really exciting and good. Like they don't know how to receive the compliments. They don't know how to be excited or think of things in a positive way. And then like they can't deal with the fact that it's paused. It's not from a microwave solution,
Mm-hmm.
type situation. Because if it's not just handed to me like when I'm asking for it, then that means I gotta go find somewhere else to get it. Now that's another skill in and of itself that's a
Oh, it is
benefit.
joining the journey and not because and that comes a lot from standardized testing and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us like giving everybody a certificate in school. Like some people hate when I say that. They like, well, what do you mean by mediocrity? I mean, when you start giving everybody a certificate, then you
Right,
tell people they didn't have to work for nothing.
Mhm.
right,
It's
right.
okay to
I
lose.
just gotta show up and maybe not even that.
Right. Like I remember desperately not getting stuff. And you know what it did
Right.
to me the next year? I was like, "Ooh, let me get my stuff together. I ain't gonna be that. You
Mhm.
ain't not naming my name
Hey, how
at
about
the
that?
next award ceremony.
How
I'm
about
about
that?
to like get my little reading because that's what it's about. Like my
Mm-hmm.
college students come with that. They'll be like, "Well, I tried." Uh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm
They're not
like a lot
learning
of
perseverance. They're not learning perseverance.
no.
Mm-mm. Perseverance, resiliency,
Mm.
and then like the whole terminology of normalizing something really is another stigma that's like layered into whatever their touch to the conversation is, because you trying to normalize what you can't even connect to. Like you don't even know, I don't know what your normal is, but you telling me to normalize my thought. you don't know what my normal is.
Exactly.
Right, right. And that
So
also
like,
like you don't, yeah, you disconnected. Like you don't even, and also too, this is an opportunity to bring parents along.
right.
Like I used to have a requirement. Like we had Saturday trips. You have to come by a female house. I don't care if it's your grandma, your uncle who sleep on the couch, who if you better drag somebody down the street. And what would happen is you would hear like my second graders, we be in the opera and their parents like, oh my God, it's boring. Miss Ann said to be quiet. If it's boring, that's because you're not listening. I said, you know.
Right. They take it on what you taught them.
Right.
Because the classroom as the living room, both places is the learning place. So like I had somebody ask me a conversation, I think last week. It was an 8-year-old that got mad that the parent didn't give them whatever it was that they was asking for, and they just left out the house. And this person was of wisdom years, and they said, well, why would the 8-year-old just leave out the house? And I was able to calmly say, she sees that happen all the time. So she learned that when she doesn't get her way, that she just walk on out the house. He said, but it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, she done seen somebody not get what they wanted, and they left out the house. So she was doing the ritual that had been trained and taught to her, as opposed to saying, okay, let me do something different. Like she's doing what is her norm. That's what I mean. When you don't know people's norm, you got to change the glasses. Like your glasses got rose color, shades in it. Like, no, the reality is, okay, in your living room, an 8-year-old should not even know how to open the door that they're going to, or have the permission to leave out. But in her living room, listen, I don't like what none of y'all in here saying, and y'all ain't giving me what I want. So I'm going to go outside and find somebody. She ain't looking at the clock and the time. She looking on how she going to clear her
She
energy
wants it
space.
now. She wants it right
She
now.
wants it right now.
I mean,
And people are like, well, how does an 8-year-old have that much audacity? They do. Because they've been taught it.
Right. Yeah. And also, I try to tell you all the time, stop telling your kids what you want them to do, and you do the opposite. Yeah. And then get mad when they do exactly what you would do. They do what they see all the time.
All the time.
They will never, if you're like, oh, you need to read more, you do this, and you sit here and you in front of the whole TV the whole time, they're going to be, it's literally, like people will always be like, your daughter reads all the time. I said, she didn't come out the womb like that.
Right.
Like, I remember many of fights at the library. Like, I just was like, look, you just need to get a book. There's a plethora. We're not leaving till you get a book. So find a book. You want to find a book with mice and rats and talking, whatever. Like, just go with God.
And you're leaving without no book.
Right.
And you know what happened? And like after doing over and over, all of a sudden Maya was getting stacks of books. The librarian used to keep books. Like, I thought you would like this book. She's like, oh, okay. So now you feel special. And also I knew that a part of her, because my daughter also had a speech issue. Okay. Reading is connected to that. So I also wanted very much for her to never feel like through her IEP, through all the therapy, that she couldn't achieve reading.
Right.
So even when she would like try to stand up and fight me down, I'm like, that's fine. You could be mad, angry. You're not going to win this battle because I'm bigger than you right now. But let's just keep doing this. And now, I can't peel books out of her face at 20 years old. But you have, it's just like anything else. I think we have to like remember, how did you start doing anything?
Exactly. And I often come across that in couples therapy as well as individuals therapy. And they're like wondering why their children are responding or doing something in a certain way. And I'm like, well, what do they see you do? And they be like, well, it don't matter what I'm doing. It does, because that's the movie. That's the real movie. Like, you are their number one idol, no matter if it's good, bad, or indifferent. You're their idol. And they're going to do, if you saying, go clean your room, and you ain't never showed them how to clean their room, and then they come into your doorway and your room look like an abyss happened, then my room got to look like an abyss too, because that's what clean room look like.
I hate you so much.
You hate me.
So much.
I mean, you know,
your room look like homeless people live there, and you gonna be mad at somebody else. You like
you're gonna
that?
be
Right.
mad at somebody else for making their room look like yours. That's the model that they had. They said put the puzzle pieces together. So
They're
they
like,
putting the puzzle pieces together. It's the empty bottle, it's the old plates, it's the chair that's holding clothes instead of you being able to sit there, it's the
Exactly.
magazines, it's everything that you got in chaos times 10.
Exactly.
Because
so
you got the same thing going on. So it's like, where do they learn? They learn from who it is that they see. Lakita is like real ish. Listen.
The parents, and I tell my parents, you are the first teacher.
oh my
Exactly.
gosh, yeah,
You first, and it's surprising a lot of parents don't realize that.
yeah.
They don't own that.
They're not,
They
they're
don't
not
own
owning
it.
that part that you're the first teacher. They're
Right.
not owning that part. And I think that's where stuff starts to slip right there because when we
Mhm.
realize we're not the first teacher, then we want the teacher to fix some stuff. And
And it's only the teacher to do it. Like I ain't got no responsibility to that.
And then when
Mhm.
the teacher can't do it, then it's the effing school, and it's
Oh
all
God,
that. But
yep.
it's us to identify: is my daughter struggling? Is my son struggling in speech? Is there a disability? My oldest son, he goes to school in Arizona now, and I knew something was going on because he was extremely hyper, and I'm like, something going on. His mom was like, John, we gotta get Bubba tested. Something wrong. And I was like, no, he just being a boy. But fortunately, she's educated. I was like, you know what? We'll get him tested. So we found out ADHD, and we was able to get early intervention from him. And he went through his his part of not want to do no work, but he graduated from University of Arizona now. You
Right.
know, but you gotta identify what's going on, and then I think it goes back to as parents, we in denial about our stuff.
Right. Or getting inferior to whatever we may be
Yes.
deficient in and falling into the stigma of what we feel deficient in versus saying, you know what, I'm gonna put some money to that to empower my child to get the resources that they need because I do have access. What that means I can't have coffee for a week. Okay, I can't have coffee for a week. I go buy it at home and make it at home so that I don't have
Yeah.
to go through the drive-through and spend $25 that week because the program is $25 and that's how we can make this happen.
Yeah.
We got to get back to that mindset of
Personal responsibility.
personal
Right.
responsibility. Too much of I'm doing me. We didn't
Right.
use that word up too much. It's used up now.
It's used up.
You
It's
were
used
doing
up.
me is messing everything else, is messing everything else up around you. So we got to get back to being passionate parents and it ain't about things and material stuff, and it's just about being there, being present in the
Mm-hmm.
moment,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
identifying what issues our kids have, and
Right.
trying to help. And to stop blaming these schools. Like I said, the schools can only do so much. Yes, there are some great teachers and there are some horrible teachers. Some
Mm-hmm.
horrible
Mm-hmm.
teachers.
Yeah.
I'm a former school teacher. And I've worked with some horrible people that because they can't get jobs in the county they really want, they do
Exactly.
it. But they make a great salary. Don't get it twisted.
Right.
They make a great salary. They just can't get in Montgomery County School District because you got to die to get a job there. Literally,
Or
you
the
got to
fact that,
die.
their rites of passage is to work in an urban community first. That's
Oh
the
yeah,
rites
yeah.
of passage.
Tell my
So
mama
then
do
they, I
that.
guess, they appreciate it more when they get able to go. But the
Mm-hmm.
Montgomery County, Bucks County, we speaking from the Philadelphia tri-state area, has some special zip codes too.
Yes.
Oh,
So it's not all glossy over there as well, but it's like it's the same narrative with additional resources that some of the urban communities don't have, but it's still like peeling back those layers. Do they have the ability to resolve a conflict, make a authentic decision in the absence of peer acceptance and cultural acceptance, like all these other things that fuel into it, and we get stuck in tunnel vision on what the media downloads for us or tells us. And
Mm-hmm.
that's usually the consequence of us not doing something before then. So it's like if we could, okay, that's the consequence. We're losing our kids. Yes. What can we do to peel back and get the attention of our kids? They need some nurturance. They need a hug. They need to know that somebody is like, if I even go with hug, they need to know that somebody's hearing and understanding them and able to give to them with understanding. So the H hearing, the U understanding, and able to give. And I often say give and receive, because I think one of the things I know for me when I'm connecting with young people is that they're like, you actually listening to me? My
Right.
voice actually matters, and I can talk to you about like these real issues. Yes, why not? Once you give them that space, you got the gold runway to be able to help them peel back everything else that's dealing with them, dealing with politics. Children have a voice. When I say children, I'm not just speaking of middle school and high school. My last situation before cousin COVID came in and, pulled up the rug and decided to live here for a little bit was dealing with third and fourth graders. And the third and fourth graders wanted to talk about politics and Kobe Bryant and like
Yes.
all of these other real life situations because they couldn't talk about it nowhere else.
Right. That's a good point.
And that's also like about building radical relationships, like I call it. Like if
Yeah.
you went to if the only thing you came out of undergrad to be a teacher was how to write a lesson plan and how to do classroom management, which most of them do, then you miss the whole purpose. The whole purpose is relationship building.
Yeah.
Like if you build relationships, it's about getting to know those people and understanding that teachers are human and teachers is a job like everybody else. So we gotta stop also putting humans on pedestals.
Right. There you go.
We have to be okay. Like if we all thought that teaching was like all of our teachers were so amazing, we would all have like 10 or 12 to talk about. If you sit anybody down on any given moment, be like, hey, what teacher really? They'll give you 2, 3,
Right.
maybe 4 if you're lucky.
Right.
And if you go away to college, maybe you add another one in there. Because people are human. Humans work jobs. And you know what? Humans are fallible. Humans have trauma. Humans have health issues. And none of that shit at an interview. You can get a degree and a certificate and be crazier than a lizard walking backwards with glasses. You know what I'm saying?
A lizard doing a moonwalk, right? Doing
like
a moonwalk into the interview, like, I got it. I got it.
You know what you're saying? You certified.
Right. Because you got there. But your kids always know that you either not right, you're not in a corner. Like it's always yes, there's tons of issues that happen.
There are.
This thing is like because I supervise student teachers too. So one of my things with my student teachers when they're like, oh, I couldn't get this work, especially now during the pandemic, during virtual, I'm like, well, what did their parents say? They're like, no. I'm like, you gotta call home. You gotta like build a relationship.
And they're like, the parents, they're afraid of the parents.
But I was like, all of my student teachers who listen and call home and build relationships, those are the ones during this virtual time, during their learning. These are the student teachers that now have office hours for the kids to come in. And some of them are like, I basically walk some of them one-on-one through the assignment. Now, some people might say, well, you don't have to do that, but these are lessons. These are these are people who I'm like, yes, I'll recommend you to go to any school.
Right. Right. And these are unprecedented time. This is a new way of learning now. Whole new way of learning. So we had to adapt to that. A teacher can't say, well, I'm going to fail Johnny. Johnny ain't coming on my class. Johnny might be helping his mom out who got her hours cut at the dollar store.
How about that? Or Johnny is telling you he can't do detention because he got to go pick up the kids at the elementary school so that we could all get home safely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like when you try to have a set aside conversation with some of the educators, they become envious of the situations or the radical relationships, as Tamara said, that you end up creating because if the child is saying, I'm going to Miss Mary's office, and then at lunchtime, Miss Mary's office to an outsider may look like the hangout because it's other clinicians in the room, but they all coming over to Miss Mary's desk for whatever reason. Because Miss Mary is I'd be like, okay, your therapist is over there, right? They be like, no, we came to see you because we can ask you X, Y, and Z question. And I'm not saying this to
no.
Mary thing.
I know it happens.
I know that happens. Yeah, because you was there when they was like, why you all these kids coming to listen? It's unsafe for them in those larger spaces. or they got stuff on their mind that came up while they was reading a story about Christopher Columbus, who ain't real, or reading a story about all these other things that they can't really connect to because they're worried about, I didn't see my mom this morning. Right. And I know she has an addiction, and I got all of the kids here to school, but is she going to be there when I get home? And I need to talk about that.
But what we going to eat tonight?
And what I'm going to eat. Miss Mary, you feel like, being nice and buying us lunch? No. Come on, Miss Mary.
Right.
Can we earn it for Friday? You don't just come out and ask me, like, can we work towards a Friday? Like, jeez. Like, I'm not even your parent. I'm the parent in the village. Like, come on. But that was a role that, was assigned to me from the universe. So I embraced that. Right. But the thing is that I end up paying attention to behaviors. And that's the thing that some educators don't pay attention to. They think that it's a personal war when the child puts their head down on the desk, or it's a personal war when it's frustrating to be able to write whatever you say. Oh, it's just a paragraph. Listen, just a paragraph. If I got speech issues, if I got hunger issues, if I'm sleepy, that's a lot of, you want me to do a lot. You're doing too much.
I'm anxious. Four lines is a lot.
Right. 4 lines is a lot.
Especially if you haven't been given any guidance or steps you can get through the 4 lines.
No steps to
it. Because I used to get exhausted students coming to me because they had all written like book reports, even like up to 11th grade. So they were all mad at me when I was like, so we're not going to do that anymore. Because Miss Tamara read the book just like you did. Now I don't want to read 20 versions of the back of the book.
Right.
And many of you have talked about how you want to learn how to write well. So I'm going to teach you how to write like a thesis, do stuff. Even with my students at IEPs, we walked through it. I had audio books for them. And when, principals come by and they always want to be like, you didn't put nothing on your thing to show what the kids are doing. I said, because they're actually still working.
You looking at the format, like, right.
Like they're still doing stuff. And so then when I do put it up, then the other teachers are like, oh, they like, this look better than some of like this. Yeah, they use quotes. They use the like information, all that stuff, right? Because I tell people all the time, when people talk about, writing isn't important and, we're going to spend all this time trying to prep for these PSSAs. I was like, writing is the one skill that will never be computerized.
Right.
Exactly.
Ever.
Right.
I said, you all, how many of y'all like going Bed Bath and Beyond or Lush and be like, I'm going to buy me some bath bombs? Those descriptions were written by somebody. That's a job.
That's a whole job, a whole skill.
To be a copywriter.
Whole job.
You can't put in any search engine, raspberry sorbet. It won't come up with nothing. Somebody got to write it.
And you got to spell sorbet the right way.
Right. And if you want your own business, say if you want to start a hair shop, you got to write out what services you provided. You got to put it inside a system.
Ooh.
You have to actually create a schedule.
That means I need to know a step-by-step process.
If you want to get money from the bank or even your local credit union or even the enterprise center, you got to write up a business plan.
Exactly.
That doesn't have any typos in it.
Exactly.
So that's how you make these connections. When that connect comes out, I don't need this. Okay. Yeah, so say once you get on the Amtrak and it's the worst experience ever. And you go off in DC and you complain to the first supervisor you see, and he not paying you no attention either. Nothing like a firm, nasty letter to Amtrak Incorporated. Well, you get free tickets. Like they didn't do all this stuff, but you have to know how to write that.
Right.
And
being skillful and leading into your story and having explanation points, or even if you're not using an actual mark, but your point is made crisp and clear and direct and to the point. And like that takes practice. You don't just wake up and roll out the bed and get that.
Nobody does. Right. Listen,
why I still use an editor when writing.
I mean, many of us do. Like even like when like students don't like to rewrite. When teachers are like, well, I'm just happy they wrote one thing. I said, you have to let them know this book that they love went through 100 edits.
Mm-hmm.
100. Somebody who does this for a living got read. Like I remember when, because I knew we were going nowhere fast when they started telling us to stop use red ink because it made kids nervous. I said, okay.
So green ink is going to do the same thing, and pink ink is going to do the same thing. It's called constructive criticism.
No, it got worse than that. When I was teaching New York, they got so bold to be like, no marks. You should put Post-its next to the thing with comments and arrows so the students can like follow and read. So I'm going to share a story. I had a former student just called me last week. She is now in LA living her best life as a production assistant working for, I think, MGM.
Okay.
You know what she told me? She said, I remember when you gave me my first paperback. She said it had so much red in it. It was like bleeding. And I said, how'd that make you feel? Did that make you feel traumatized? No, I mean, I was, but the next day you were like, this is how you fix it.
Right. There's a solution to this.
Like follow the red mark. Like she was like, because all of a sudden, the students, they were mad, traumatized, like, oh my God, this never happened. But then they wanted the red marks because they were like, you're the only teacher we've ever had that's read everything, all 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, all the way to the end. And like, if you follow Miss Anderson's corrections and rewrite, then you'll do it. Because I was like, I learned that way. I never forget the first bleeding paper I got. I was like, okay. It makes a point more so than a Post-it.
Right. And how about when you say that, I feel a little triggered, but it's okay. And the only reason I feel triggered is that as a professor and I'm not going to put the school, even though I think you said it earlier in the broadcast, the one that we teach at, how they baby these scholars who are learning as a second layer in their lives. And so they be like, I ain't never had no professor that hold me accountable when I got something lower than an A. Well, it's just the first grade in the semester. Like we still got 7 weeks, to grow through this process. And if you follow my steps, you'll be fine. But you giving me all this energy because I'm a Black woman professor and the first one that taught you real.
Yeah. And it goes back to what you and John said earlier about not respecting the process. Wanting everything to be done, like you want to win immediately. Like it's like a lottery mentality. Right. I'm like, nobody who you've seen, like I've had students tell me, well, now it's easy to make money. You could be an influencer. I said, you realize 70% of influencers are white women under the age of 35.
Right.
Who are influencer income bracket and have whichever. And I'm not knocking I don't want to knock your dreams. I just need your dreams to be realistic.
Right.
I just need you to be like, maybe this ain't my jelly or my jam. Maybe
right.
So everybody else you admire, that took work. Like I think somebody said it best. There was a book I read that was like, we focus too much on success stories. And we never talk about the journey story.
The journey. Nobody talk about the journey, Tamara.
It's like it's shameful to even talk about the journey, but the journey is real because you don't just wake up with these opportunities sitting in your lap. Like you have to do the work. Like another clinician, emerging clinician, she's coming through therapy, but she's like, I just want my private practice and for it to be making 6 figures. I said, well, how you gonna do that? Like you gotta do multiple. I mean, you could do it. It's realistic, but it's a journey. She said, well, they saying I'm not eligible to take, the colonizer test and all of that stuff until December. And I said, well, you either can start your nonprofit now with board members who have the credentials that you're seeking so that you can feel validated in what it is that you're doing, but knowing that it's a journey so that you can get your overall dream done. But you ain't going to be ready, boo-boo, until like 2022. Like, and probably the middle of 2022. And that 6-figure thing, again, I'm not busting your bubble, but You got to do every single day. This person she works 3 weeks and then or 2 weeks, and then she takes a week off because she's just so overwhelmed. I can't take it. It's so much paperwork. Girl, community behavioral health, that's your process, is to do a ream of paperwork each week and turn that in so that they could bill for it, so they could pay you $2 an hour.
And you better not be no lead clinician.
Right. And like how
lead clinician or outpatient, it's the same darn thing.
And I was like, where they do that at? Where anybody working in social work making 6 figures? I mean, I'm not saying that's not your dream. I'm just saying, like, you need to stop looking at the red table talk and being like this clinician, and you know she helping Will and Jada and the whole world for $500 an hour. That's not where they started,
right?
And also too, like if you're not even creative enough to know, I gotta think bigger. You also then aren't like still enough to plan the steps.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. You're not still enough. You're not still enough.
Yeah, you're not still enough. And listen, why like take in people like so like I like this whole like this. Oh gosh, working with Gumbo Lab with new solo artists.
Right. We're gonna get to that.
No. This actually connects right to it.
Okay.
So new actors always come in and they're always like, I just want to be famous. Or I want to be Viola. I want to be this. And I'm like, so let me tell you about Viola's career. Because I know it like an IMDb page in my head.
Okay.
I remember in the 90s when I used to love Steven Seagal movies. Mm-hmm. He was in 2 of them as a crackhead with Folan, with Isaiah Washington, with the Phony Pony on his side. I remember watching Antoine Fisher's story.
Mm-hmm.
He had no not crying while he basically telling her she a terrible mother.
Mm-hmm.
During this whole time, she has worked on Broadway. She's working off Broadway. Anytime to do an August Wilson show. Now we know the August Wilson shows are the Black History Month shows. So that means that she's not working like all the time.
Right.
Okay. So now let's look at some different other career choices. Let's look at like really when things start to pop off, 48, 49, 50. Are you that person? Because they started at 20, 21.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the reason why, you know, like I bring her up, or I bring Octavia Spencer up, or even Taraji, who people don't even remember back in Tia and Tamara. You know, a little chubby face just showing like, wow, what we doing? What you know what I'm saying? Or the fact of walking across Howard's graduation with her toddler in her arm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody talks about the fact that she made this choice, move to LA, no family, no nothing. Like, okay. But like talk about those steps. You got to get your union card. You have to do this. Right. The journey is more important. Like I have had people come to me and be like, oh, I'm funny. I could do, I mean, you know, what you do. How I could do what you do by not talking to me like that. That's how you do it. Because I don't know what that is.
Yeah. The journey, you know, because we got all this instant grits. Everything's instant right now.
And you're missing
microwave solutions. You miss so many lessons.
Like there's woodworking involved. You have to work on yourself. Like you gotta take classes. You have to know how, like people think like it's like comedians just like, meow. You have to know how to write. You have to bomb. You have to go out there and hear silence. I don't think like if you ain't done that, you ain't lived. You be like this. None of this money. Let me think.
Yeah.
I'm gonna back up out of this. You know what I'm saying? But you don't just you come back the next night.
Steve Harvey he always talked about how he had to live in his car for a little while.
Listen.
Till he made it.
Listen. I mean, all I got, because I could probably give a whole bunch just in thinking about living in your car. Like my mom transitioned in 2013. Something else significant happened in 2013 as well that like kind of rocked my whole world. Right. But then the contract that I was working on shut down. Like we was moving good and had this big thing that was happening with the school district. And then the current superintendent came in and said, we ain't doing business like that no more.
Right. Just like that.
Just like that. We had the letter 1 month that said we got approved, and then the superintendent came in and said, yeah, families do their own thing. You know, yeah, we're not doing that. And I was just like, okay, but we didn't gave away gave away the work that we was doing so that we could be 100% authentic for this big contract. And then you just gonna walk in from PG County, Maryland, and say no.
Mm-hmm.
The trajectory as a entrepreneur meant the paycheck I thought I was getting ready to get
gone.
Bye-bye.
Just like that. So what's your other part of the journey that's going to help you sustain? The losses that I gained or experienced was not pleasant. It was a Steve Harvey scenario. So like it wasn't pleasant. But then what year is it? 2021?
Mm-hmm.
I just got what they owed me. Part of what they owed me. I just got it as an entrepreneur.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I had written it off like, okay, whatever. I didn't gone through the hardships of losing the residents, losing everything else that I was like striving for and growing, and was like, okay, but I can't stop here. Like, I'm gonna have a ripple in the matrix, but it ain't no microwave solution to this. It's a journey and a process. Okay, sit back. What are the signs that you saw? Which ones did you ignore? Which ones can you grow from? Because that's how you're gonna make sure it don't happen again.
Yeah. Being reflective. You just
being reflective and not holding yourself, like blaming yourself, because it's you don't have no control over a superintendent change and
but also making a list. So something like when I first started, like any company, any project, at the end, good, bad, or ugly, I make a list, a laundry list. What worked? What am I never doing again? Who am I never working with again? But that's it too. Like you also learn people lessons.
Yes.
You're like, oh, that person really can't be trusted. Let me pivot and go to this thing, right?
How about that?
You also have to start. You have to research. I like to call it safeguard opportunities, right? You have to, how can I be an adjunct? How can I freelance edit? What skills do you have?
What other skills do you have? That's a part of that process in the journey,
right? But if you are, but if the only process you have is I want to be famous, I want 6 figures, then you actually are starting out with a deficit because the people who actually either achieve that or at least get comfortable, they started out as being like, I want to be a working actor. Like when I tell people that, when people are like, Tamara, I can't wait till you big and famous. I'm like, God, I've been on a whole bunch of TV and film shows. How much
fame
do you think I need to be? Like, I think like I'm just happy that I used to be 20%, 30%. Now 70% of my income comes from performing arts or performing projects, right? There's some years it goes back down to 30 and 40.
How about that? Because the seasons, the patterns.
So what do I do during that? I maintain relationships. I make sure these are spaces that I've worked in before. I make sure that casting directors and producers and all this stuff. It's the same thing in education. When people are like, "Oh, Tamara, you can pull a panel out of the sky," it has a lot to do with the fact that these are people I have built relationships with, not transactional relationships, right? Like I believe, like even now during COVID, I believe in having Zoom brunches with organizers to just like we're not gonna talk about work. What are you making in your kitchen? Let's talk about that. Because what happens is now when we either one of us needs something or we're like, oh my God, I need a panelist who really has this expertise. There's no problem going into their thing and being like, here you go. I also give people their flowers and stop trying to take over projects as if I'm the new shiny bauble. If I know a group is doing this work, I'm going to recommend the group.
Right.
This group is doing this work great. Our group don't need to redo it. Imagine. And so because you show respect, because people don't understand how big that is, it really tells people that you have integrity, that you are actually watching them move in this world, and that you respect the work that they're doing, even if they're not being interviewed on WHYY, the Inquirer every week. You're like, well, I respect this work you're doing. I just wonder, how can I fit in? And if you don't see it, or how can I support? Like, do you need flyers? You need this? Do you need me to do some StreamYard virtual producing space back to the back? Like, these and also, too, how are you developing skills? You should have a toolkit of skills. Those should be your goals.
And your go-to, not just one thing in the basket like that, because the basket unweave itself at the bottom. Then what you gonna do?
Exactly.
Like, I don't know what to do. But that's also why you have this sense of helplessness,
Mm-hmm.
and then that that manifests itself in violence in our community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because this sense of helplessness also is attached to fear.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And fear is attached to treating other people really poorly because you don't want people to see that you're scared.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I totally agree
Right.
with that.
Because being scared is not, it's not gonna get you the brownie points, but it really should. I mean, because even when we look at you know, I don't know how you all feel about DMX or whatever, and the transition or whatever, but it's like depending on how you touch that story, some people are going all to the hardship of his substance abuse, but he was very instrumental in so many other ways. And we don't talk about, people could be telling us like, yo, I'm depressed, I'm dealing with this, and we'd be like, oh yeah, well, let's go take this shot of Henny real quick, or let's go do something else, and being so dismissive to what the real conversation and where the real work is. And I'm not suggesting anybody on the street is capable of talking about like mental health stuff, but be the catalyst and help them get to where they got to get to, and give them the space that they need, as opposed to just putting a band-aid on it and saying, okay, we're gonna be all right.
Mm-hmm.
And also too, when you focus on one part of his life, you do him no justice.
Right.
This is somebody who was multifaceted, multi-talented, also was a mentor to many. Some who were on himself.
He saved Def Jam by himself.
Exactly.
Like Def Jam was about to go under.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And Russell talked about that last night. He said we was about to go under, and he just came from nowhere.
Right. Right.
You know,
and everybody knew when that growl came, it was a situation about to happen, and that energy force, like don't let that growl hit the stage.
Yeah. I don't know if y'all seen the video when he's at Lollapalooza and all these white people, they know his song. They just going,
every word.
Thousands of white people. And there's, you don't see nothing white people. And they sing all his songs word to word.
Cross like generations, ethnicity. He was also such a nurturer. Like, he was such a family person. He also like one of my friends, really good friends, he also used to like cultivate orchids for his friends.
Okay.
He did. But I think like it's one of those things where he is the example. And it's also an example to all of us that you have to be multifaceted for your sanity. You know, you got to find not just something that you outside of finding what should be in your toolkit, you also got to find out what's in your self-care toolkit.
Right.
How do you deal with stress? Do you have an active therapist? Do you have like, do you got sage in your corner and all, whatever it takes? Do you take bubble bath? I don't really care. You need to have that when you are dealing with the world.
Right. Because the world is ruthless.
Oh yeah, I tell my daughter all the time. Like when she was little and she get bullied, and the counselors were always like, "Well, this is just a phase." I said, "So I need you to stop telling my daughter those untruths, because these bullies grow up to become
supervisors,
adults.
Managers, all kinds of stuff."
Yes, because the bullying is real as an adult.
It is, and like even the
microaggressions,
bullies, and all the other stuff, and traumatized. I said, so I would tell Maya all the time. I said, look, I would love to tell you that this is a phase, and when you hit 18, magic's going to happen. But I'm not that mother. That magic's never going to happen. You got to find that magic within yourself.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Totally agree.
And you have to be okay with letting some people go. There's some people that you're going to be like, oh my God, but they were my friends. And I'm an only child. I totally get it. We like to hold on to people. But when I turned 35, I was like, bang, see ya.
Yeah.
And I would say it's a season, a moment, or a lifetime. So sometimes the people who you think will be with you forever, they only there for the moment or for the season. Like, and embrace or for the lesson. And that may be 6 months, it could be a couple years, it could be a few weeks. It's no time cookie thing to how long that season or moment will be with you. And then it'll just be a real small handful that can be with you on that lifetime journey, because conversations do change. It's just, if you're evolving and constantly growing and going through a transformation, it's not that you're leaving anybody behind, but you just sometimes outgrow people.
And you also got to surround yourself by people. If you like people who are pushing towards goals, you gotta have a team.
And you need somebody who is at that level of what you're striving for, even if it's just mindset and they haven't got to the dollar amount, if it's a mindset to help you get there. Because if you with people who are in the crabs in the barrel situation, you always going to be tired and fatigued, because you're going to be fighting against both worlds, and both worlds can't go with you.
Right.
And you have to be careful when everybody in your circle is always mad about something that happened, or you in a circle where everybody feels like everything is unfair. Right. Nobody ever is like self-accountable. Like, so what did you do in that situation? Sure. It was all them. Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to clear that up.
That's the narcissism.
Nobody takes responsibility. What'd you say, John?
That's that narcissism. Ain't nobody no responsibility now. That's a whole nother topic.
Gaslighting.com. Yes.
Like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you said you got to build your team. I got a great mentor. He's actually younger than me, but he's a great team member, Mr. Lamont Josie. And he walked up on me one day. I met him through my nephew. He said, "You know what? I got a mental health company." He said, I've heard about you. He said, "You different. You got a lot of skills, man." He said, "I'm gonna help you get to where you need to be." And within a year, he helped my Cameron group grow. I get so many phone calls from psychology today. I have to give them to other people. Because I specialize working with young boys and men only. I get a lot of that. So I get, I got wives calling me, fiancés calling me, moms calling me. My son needs some help. You know what I mean? Well, my man, what's wrong with him? You got to talk to him, John. Hey, take the phone. So I get a lot of that. But I'm thankful, you know what I'm saying? Because this dude ain't have to do that. He's a million, like he got a thriving bit. He's like, I don't want nothing from you. I just want to see you grow.
But that's payment. And that's how currency happens in so many different ways.
So and I always look to pay it forward. If I can help somebody, I'm pull you up.
Yeah.
Pull you up. Now everything ain't for everybody, because I print t-shirts, Mary knows, and I've had people come to me, "John, show me how to print a t-shirt. Show me the game. Come on by my house. I got a machine." Because I lost my job and we had this whole superintendent thing years ago, and all I had was money to buy t-shirts. And I started a t-shirt business. So I tell them, come on by, but they don't want to put the work in.
Right. You can't bring them to water.
Yeah.
They not that thirsty yet.
They ain't that thirsty yet. I said, you know what? You still got too many other resources. I was down and out. I was in my sister's my nephew's middle room. I had lost everything. So I ain't had nothing. I had to start over.
Right.
I told him, I said, maybe you just ain't that. You ain't fall hard enough yet. Come back when it gets real desperate. So I do also know, and I don't take that personal. If you're somebody I'm trying to pull up and you just don't want to pull up, or you don't put the work in as a therapist or whatever, and you don't think you're gonna be up all night doing notes, you got the wrong place. You're doing the wrong thing.
Oh my God, all night long doing notes.
You just said it, right?
All night.
A ream of paper to do the notes. Because that's the only way you're going to get that change to do whatever else you build.
The only way you get your bread. That's the only way you get your bread.
Because if you didn't write it didn't happen.
People are seeing too much of the finished product.
Yeah.
And now they want to be part of the story. But that's not how it goes.
It's not how it goes.
You got to go through that process. You got to go through your journey. Like you said, the journey got to happen.
The journey has to happen.
And the journey is it's messy. It's I think the journey is the best part of it.
It really is.
It's where you learn. It's where your blood pressure go up. It's where all the stuff happens. Things really hit the fan. You sitting on your couch talking about, man, I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow.
I don't know what I'm about to eat. Am I
Right.
hungry? My mind is so full with trying to figure out the process. I know I'm supposed to be hungry, but I ain't hungry.
Right.
Not for food.
Right.
I'm hungry for this situation and this migraine to go away and all of this paperwork that I gotta do by XYZ time.
And knowing that your paperwork literally is like your calling card.
Right.
You know, especially when you work with families or incarcerated systems, especially government facilities. Your paperwork is your calling card. On the other end, hiring case managers. And I remember there was literally some case managers, I was like, I don't know what this paperwork is saying. So I can't recommend them to finish this process. Because in order for the client to get what they need, the paperwork has to be very meticulous. So, you know, and so that's something too. But like, that's also something that is not a school thing, right?
No,
because that is something, and that's nothing. We talked about living rooms and families. It's also about what they see. What do they see? Your hustle, your work ethic. Because I know, like. So like Mary knows, I literally probably have 1,000 jobs, and sometimes I'm like, I'm going to like die. I'm so tired. You know what I'm saying? But one thing I can say is, even when my daughter wasn't getting like a traditional job, you know, she go to Target, they'd be like, yeah, no. She was like, wow, okay, well, she just like was like, well, let me figure something out. So she started like a portrait company and started doing portraits for people.
I remember that.
And charging people. And even though, you know, Maya is such a, like, she's such a non-traditional 20-year-old. Like most 20-year-olds like, yeah, Venmo me. Maya's like, you got cash? She's like, I told him to get me cash and meet me at the cafeteria with the cash. I was like, that. Okay. Because I was like, literally, like her first semester in college, we were putting money in her account and it was just sitting there. And I was like, but every time on Instagram, she's like, I got a new dress. I got some new lip gloss. I was like, where are these magical things coming from? I'm confused. And then she was like, because I knew she could get a job on campus. She said, oh, I just restarted my portrait business because people saw I did artwork and they want like a picture of Wonder Woman or Storm. I was like, okay, here you go. $40. Thanks.
Wow. That's
Listen,
good.
she made it work.
Yeah, she made it work.
Right. Like I had to take, because at first I was like really about to get on her, like, you gotta practice your interviewing thing. I had to take a step back. I was like, clearly you have learned some stuff that you okay with. And she was like, I see you do that all the time. And I was like,
you're the first teacher. You're the first teacher.
The first teacher. And you had to say, oh, huh.
Right. I was like, look.
Like, you right.
Yeah. My middle child, she's down in Bethune, and she had to come back because of the COVID. But while she was down there, she had an eyelash hustle. So you know, you're down in Florida, so the eyelash thing be popping.
Yeah.
I mean, she was ordering eyelashes.
You said the eyelash
because of it. He right. It be looking like you be on the bus. People look like they just came from the club. It be 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Where you? I remember I went by her to her dorm, and the girls, hey, Mr. John, and the eyelashes was everywhere. I said, Lord, but it worked for her. It worked for her. She said, I got the mink one, Dad. I got the Jones that you ain't got to take out your eyes. No, that's okay. She got a little box now with Jayla's lashes and designers, and she's selling brushes. I'm proud of her. She said,
yeah. And as you say that, I'm thinking of the mirror of what she saw from you.
Yeah.
Like with all of the entrepreneurial shows and stuff like that you've done. She probably was like, yeah, my daddy do this. I mean, and I know her mom as well. Her mom is a hustler as well. And I shouldn't say hustler, but, you know, she makes things happen. So it's like, you know, she got two parents that's like about it. So she had no other way but to know that.
I'm like, I couldn't say nothing about it. She said that. Right. I'm too busy to work a job, so I got, you know, with classes, so I got to do this last. I said, you're right. Because I promised her, if you ain't got a 3.0, you coming back to Philly. You ain't going all the way down to Florida for under 3.0. I'm sorry. You do that. So, you know, she heard me. So, but it's just about being the first teacher and them understanding.
Oh, yeah.
Just that's all. And you know, and that's what I want to instill with some of these other parents. We got to work on, and don't be ashamed of what happened to you. Jayla, remember when I was living in the middle room at my sister's house
Right.
to come visit me? She remembers that,
Right.
and she always says, "Dad, I'm so proud of you." She said,
Right.
"I'm proud of you," but she remembers that. So
because she saw the messiness, like the
yeah,
ups and downs. That's
she
really
saw all
important.
that. She
Right.
saw
But that's the important. The journey was present. It was real. It was
it
something
was
she was
real.
able to see and able to replicate. So she was like, okay, this is how, different things can
Yeah,
actually
it
like happen
happened.
and be successful. So I see people popping in for the email that they got to wish the host a happy birthday. The host is invisible, but that's okay. We're gonna make it happen. Oh wait, one person. She just left. So the host is invisible, Miss April. How you doing?
I'm good. How's everybody?
How are
Everybody.
you?
Awesome. Awesome.
So I guess he's gonna have to catch his birthday greetings on the replay.
Oh, he's not here?
Out celebrating with his sons, and I can't reach him on the phone.
Oh,
So
okay.
yes.
Right,
So
well,
you can say your shouts out to him, and it'll be on record for him to get it.
Hi.
LaJoya and Tamara know each other.
oh, nice.
How you been?
I know. I was like, I know her. I know that name.
So you guys want to give your shout out, and then we go back to our conversation because I know other people will probably be popping in. I thank you guys.
Yes, I wanted to say happy birthday, Del Rico, and I hope you enjoy your day. And another, circle around the around the sun.
Right.
And just keep doing what you're doing, and I'm proud of you.
Awesome. That's so
That's
sweet
it.
of you, Camp. I know that's your boo.
Yes.
So thank you, April. I know you don't want me to put you up in front screen.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I mean, I'm acknowledging the treatment plan that you done told me. I'm trying to.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, Del Rico, I just want to say happy birthday, baby boy, because 42 is a baby still in my eyes.
In your eyes.
That's right, in my eyes. So, happy birthday. Well-deserved day to spend with you, your sons, father-son connections. That's awesome. So, but anyway, enjoy your birthday. Wish you well, and again, many more.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies, for hopping in for that. All right. See
See
y'all
ya.
soon.
You
Yeah.
guys.
So yeah, thanks for that interruption. We might have some more people popping in, but yeah. So where was we at? We talking about the journey.
Yeah.
Like people thinking your daughter seeing that journey and knowing, you said something about the middle bedroom at your sister's house and that part of the journey and how she responds to that. But it's like it's real,
And I'm still not lying to them, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, through evictions, through almost homelessness, through home insecurity, Maya's been through that.
And that's what I should say, home insecurity versus like the whole car scenario. I experience home insecurity.
Yeah, home insecurity is real. And I think like I have some girlfriends, I have friends who like they hide that from their kids or try to be like trying to make sure everything's normal. I'm not saying don't try to make them comfortable. It's already a very difficult situation. I'm saying though that it's okay to be like, I literally don't know how I'm gonna pay my rent this month. I don't know how I'm gonna get food on the table, but we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna have some pasta, some eggs, in a lot of different ways. We're gonna do this. I think it's important to. I mean, they don't have to be in your whole business. But I do disagree with the not saying anything.
Right. You just leave them just in some fantasy island type world.
Yeah. Yeah. Like not just tell you living your truth. Like
you can't get a PlayStation 5 right now. We got to keep the lights on.
Right.
Plain and simple.
And I've talked to parents about that. They're coming to the school and they're like, he's just so demanding. She's so demanding, and I ain't got it. I said, tell him you ain't got it.
Right.
But I don't want to hurt their. Tell them you ain't got it. We ain't got it right now.
I've had to sew clothes because I couldn't buy replacements for jeans. I'm like, we're gonna have to patch it. But then that teaches a skill too.
Exactly.
Now, guess who? Now
Exactly.
who's throwing buttons back on their stuff, and you're like, oh, okay, like these are things we have to do, and that's not.
A lot of people connect that to shame, and it's not shame. It's just the reality of lives and survival in an upward way versus a survival and depreciating.
Yeah, like you don't have to go into an impoverished state of mind.
No.
We can have some, I one thing, especially when these things would happen when she was little, then I would just try to find all the free things. Let's go to the park. Let's go to New Jersey Transit when it's free on Saturdays for you. Let's do this. Like little things that I could afford at that in that pocket, right? To have some joy and some stuff, but also to come back and be like, everything else is like we cannot do these extra things.
Right.
Can't go to the venture right now. Can't go to
right. And I'm always like telling families, have a conversation or have a family meeting and say, okay, well, this is what's in the budget. We got 25, we got 15, we got $50 for this week. Tell them to plan the budget for the week. How we gonna make the things that you would like to present to the family to do within the dollar amount that I gave you? Because that's a skill.
That's a real skill right there, man.
That's a real skill that you got $50 and you got to put gas in the car or get transportation. Could be a trans pass. You got to make sure you have enough food on the table. What you going to cook? You going to make spaghetti? Spaghetti is a good 3-day meal.
3 days right there.
Huh?
That's 3 days right there.
That's 3 days and you get some spaghetti and some lunch meat. You good.
Right. Good. Don't make a pot of chili. Then it becomes chili. Then it becomes chili mac with some elbow macaroni. Then it becomes chili mac and cheese on day.
Right.
Then becomes
real survival skills going on.
When I worked in Frankfurt, more of my kids, I would show them like how you guys are wasting so much money.
By the corner store.
By the corner store. Corner store killing y'all. Get some lunch meat on Saturday. Get some bread, whatever, cheese, whatever. Make your sandwiches. Come to you stop going and getting 6 chicken wings and fries at lunchtime.
Right.
And stop going to the store where they just went to BJ Saturday.
Right.
How about that? Talking about all that stuff you gotta cook. Okay. Plan your time wisely. Just open the package and wrap it in the little paper towel, put it in the microwave or in the oven, or it's just gonna take a couple minutes. What you rushing to?
And I think that
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, as a people, that's a skill we really got to work on, Mary.
Yeah.
Just that budgeting piece, and you know, and you don't.
We wouldn't be losing so many bodies. Like we wouldn't lose so many bodies to violence if that budgeting piece and our relationship to money was intact. Like that is real talk. Yeah. Like if they want to do something, change minimum wage. Minimum wage should be $15 to $20 an hour, not $7.25, $7.50.
What you gonna do with that?
And the people who making the rules ain't living on that type of lifestyle, so they don't even understand that once I get my paycheck and then taxes happen.
Well,
am I paying my rent?
Right. You also are talking about a whole mind shift from capitalism to socialism, like actually caring about people.
Yes.
Right. I mean, actually paying people $4 an hour is exactly what the system's supposed to do because it's not supposed to make you no money. Yeah. But we also have gotten rid of, you used to be able to graduate from high school and go work at the steel union. And make good money. By the time you were 20, 21. Yeah. I'm talking about like this was like a job open to people that look like us. Like it wasn't even a clothes thing. Right. You were able to leave your high school.
Right.
Go on down to steel workers thing, do your little internship with your union card and have a whole family and basically support yourself. Or even better, work on the assembly line at all the car companies in the Midwest, right? Not to mention, you know, when they used to have the beer company here before it went to the Midwest. That was a huge job for people in North Philly and West Philly. Like those were like employment. When they finally opened up the Tasty Cake Factory after people had protested, like, you don't want no black people to ride their truck, so we not eating no Tasty Cake. And they were like, ooh, we hurt because black people like Tasty Cake.
What?
We like, they done boycotted Tasty Cake. They were like, we gonna let them drive. Like, that needs to happen. We also need to go back to meal planning.
How about that?
Whatever happened to? I remember going home and all my only job was a note was left near the crock pot. Turn the crock pot off.
That was the text message.
Yes. Put this pan of cornbread in the oven for 10
Yep.
minutes. You 8 years old, but you can turn the oven off. You can do it. You don't kill people. And you sat down to a scoop of chili, some cornbread,
Yeah.
meal at 3, 4 o'clock that everybody can now eat when they come home.
We all latchkey kids. We latchkey kids.
Absolutely.
And so that
Y'all
saves
got-
you money right there. I didn't have to spend $3 on 6 wings because I knew I had some food somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Even if you popping in the house real quick and you know rolling back out, you still know that you could pop in, get that bowl of chili or whatever before you go to practice or whatever else it is that you got to go to. It just take a couple minutes to prepare. Like that's the general, like that's the small thing. But like if we bumped up minimum wage, like
yeah, if you actually if you put it up, it would be at $20 if it went up every year. It would be close to $20, $22 a year with inflation this year. And
well,
we
in 1978, melanated people, that's how I will refer to the brown bodies, was making 58 cents on the dollar compared to other ethnicities. 1978.
Wow.
What you think it is today?
It's still 60 cents on the dollar. It's actually
You sure ain't less?
It's actually 58 cents a dollar for Black women.
Exactly.
Like women are actually still only making 58 cents a dollar. That's the same thing with house ownership.
Right.
Like, I don't know if you all saw that special that Trevor Noah did, that he was a report that came out that more Black people own property during Jim Crow.
Wow.
Than now. And that's true. The Housing Act was passed in 1968. By 1969, home ownership among Black families went to 48%. In 2020, home ownership for African Americans was 49%.
That's crazy.
And we know that homes are a form of like legacy
stability
and stability. You know, like I don't have to, even say for instance, my whole life ends. If I have a family house to go to, and that's nothing too. We just saw it with Aretha Franklin's estate.
Right.
So we also have to do more about wealth planning. We have to stop letting all of our homes go into probate court.
Right.
We have to stop waiting till our parents can barely sign a sheet of paper to be like, oh, I better it's a page. It's a page.
It's a whole page.
You can print it out to take over, like have authority. But
right.
if you wait till they're dead, that is why if you go to some houses, truth be told, no shade, there are some PGW bills going to hold dead people. Still.
What? You know,
nobody changed the stuff and they scared to do it now because it's too late.
Yep. I totally agree. Yeah.
They be paying taxes with their imaginary grandma's name. I'll be like this. And because the two offices don't talk, that's what people don't realize.
Right.
But this is what's going to happen. Some person who loves gentrification going to go get a death certificate.
Yep.
They
go downtown, get a death certificate. Yep.
And then all of a sudden, you're going to be coming to your house with a big old lock on it. You're like, what happened?
What happened? What happened?
And that's something that also has to be taught. Like, we also have to have wheels at 30. Not because you one leg into the grave, because you're taking 5 wheels. And you got to change your wheel every 5 years. If you live, like to do that. You got.
I think even before 30, because life is just so fragile. Like we don't prepare for the transition. But we know that life is going to end. Like we know that, but it's so uncomfortable to talk about. But that's the reality. Like we got to talk about, like I'm saying, that early processing of coping and conflict resolution from the pre-K and the living room and having that partnership there, so that when they're in their adolescent years, they're not trying to be they're gonna be a rebel because that's just what that age group does. But they only testing the theory to see how they can push the envelope. That when they get to college is when they can practice they may go on the wild side for a little bit. And everybody doesn't go to college. So college, vocational school, whatever, like it's different stages to this, and you have to prepare. But we have to prepare for what is it going to look like if something was to happen to me, because you really just don't know, especially since we have cell phones and everybody's usually walking in the street with the head down as opposed to stopping and looking left and looking right for the traffic. Like, are you looking in life, like in every decision that you make, are you considering the whole how you reset the table? Like,
because cell phone death is actually very real. People don't even think about like I think Philadelphia like a few years ago was like the highest of like cell phone related traffic injuries, traffic related stuff. But people don't talk about
people in Philly drive special too. Like,
you mean like stop signs that are optional? I was like, oh, that's
yeah, stop signs are optional, and they could be all the way in the right hand lane and need to be making that left turn across the boulevard so that they just go all the way across.
It was so traumatizing. When I moved here, my daughter was 5. That's when you teach your kids how to cross streets. My poor child, until she was probably 11, was still holding on people's hands because she was so traumatized. Because the stop sign, I mean, you stop, and she was like, "I'm so confused."
Stop sign means it's really just to creep through it.
You like the
My brother came to visit, and I was driving a stick shift at this time, but I had acclimated to the Philadelphia way of stop signs, and he was like, "You know, that was the stop sign right there." And I said, "What happened?" I said, "I was in gear 2. What happened? It wasn't no cars there." He said, "Oh, that's how y'all do."
Oh, ain't no car.
Like, ain't no cars. I look both ways.
The cops won't really stop you either. If ain't nothing jumping off, that's what everybody do. You just kind of roll through the stop sign.
We need to have a Philly how to cross the street coloring book to be like, make sure there's no cars, then cross. Forget the red, yellow, green rules, because she was like, I mean, because people like my mother come visit, she's like, why is Maya so like anxious at streets? I said, have you seen these streets? That's like, it has messed up my whole purpose. Like, it's bad enough you come from New York where you just can't cross, but at least when the light is red, you got 10 seconds to get across, so you know that's it. But
it's
like
only 10.
Like when she was starting to walk home from school by herself, I was like, oh, she was just like, she would be in the corner for like minutes, like this.
It don't look safe.
Philly got their own rules with everything.
And then don't go to South Philly. Like, it's a whole nother set of rules.
Like they park on, they got a whole set of rules.
I was really confused about the parking. I said, oh, is that so you park on the
South Philly.
That's in the middle of the street on the sidewalk.
Is that that's a city rule, right? Because they don't get
city rule in South Philly. It's no ticket in South Philly.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You gotta be here to know that though, because otherwise you'd be like, I could park here. No, if you do it in North Philly, your car getting towed in 15 minutes.
Oh yeah. Well, they ain't nobody. Yeah.
Ain't nobody playing that. Ain't nobody playing that. We have chatted it up though, like the great conversation all day long. But you know, the purpose is the spotlight, like what it is that you all do, even though we've kind of like dipped and dived in it, you know, a little bit. So, you know, like who wants to share first, you know, in regards to how it is that you touch the community, how you know, building people up. I mean, you know, it's a lot. Like we do a lot. Like I know, because we have rolled up sleeves side by side and made these things happen. Which is why we could just be so fluid in talking about all of these things that was happening. So is it Tamara? Is it John?
Goodness gracious. Tamara, you want to go first?
I mean, I want to hear about the book. I was intrigued.
Okay. Right.
Okay. All right. Once again, my name is John Cameron. I have been in I was blessed to be in education, juvenile justice, and mental health at the same time for like 25 years. It was a blessing. Because I started as a teacher right from Western University, and I worked at a lockdown facility while I was teaching on the weekends. And then I said, you know what? I like this lockdown thing, and I left teaching. So I worked at a maximum security school called Fair School for Boys. That definitely was like groundbreaking, because at the time they were going from being level 5 facility to becoming adding therapy and treatment involved. So I had kids who their crimes range from car theft to murder one to attempted murder, you name it. So I tell people like this Wilmington area, it ain't sweet. It definitely not no sweet. I've raised a lot of young men here. Okay. While I've been doing that, what happened was in 2012, how I started the Cameron Group was one of my old students, Shannon Johnson. You can look him up. Shannon Johnson versus State of Delaware. Shannon was one of my first kids when I first started working at Ferris. Shannon, basically, guy did some serious stuff. He ended up killing a young man who actually was one of our old clients at Ferris. Shot his girlfriend as well, his actual girlfriend, because she was with the guy at the time. So they gave him the death penalty. While he had the death penalty, he decided in 2012 to be executed at the age of 30 years old. He decided. So the Department of Mental Health, they all stepped in, like, defending him. But of course, State of Delaware was like, if we ain't got to pay for the next 35, 40 years, we gonna give you what you want. Yeah. So they let him. They gave him. They gave him what he wanted, and in 2012 he was executed. He was only on death row 3 years. And so I said, you know what? I know a lot of these boys, and I know someone on death row. I got some on life. They write me. I got to figure out something how I'm gonna reach these younger guys. That's why I started the Cameron Group. So for the last 3 years before the COVID, I did a leadership conference every year. Right outside of Philadelphia, right on Baltimore Pike. And then about a year ago, I started saying, I need to reach out to these parents and tell them about some of these pillars that I know about, that I think that'll help their sons, black boys, become better people. People at first, they kind of like was DMing me, why you just saying black boys? Black boys was all I know at the time, because the facility I was at, it was 98% black boys. So I said, with these 5 pillars that I'm going to create, I'm going to be able to help these parents help their son become leaders, because we got to change the stigma of these black boys being black, and so that's why I started doing. So in the pillars, I got each pillar has a whole lesson and a how to. So for example, there's an entrepreneur piece, and I talk to parents about how to help your son become an entrepreneur. If you've never been an entrepreneur, where the resources to reach out? What's the skills to become an entrepreneur? Teaching your son about that. Of course, education is the other pillar. So I talk about the education as far as school and life education. In the book, I also talk to the parents about their own mental health, being able to identify what's going on. Because I have a part where I says you got to put your oxygen mask on first. Now, you all know when we on the airplanes, when you fly out, they'll tell you, plane descends, put your mask on first. So I tell the parents, put your mask on first. You can't help your son if your mask ain't on, because you're going to faint and fall out. So I got a whole wellness set up for that, just for parents. And then, the pillars, they go on and on. Goal setting, because goal setting is very important. So I got a piece about goal setting, and I basically broke down SMART goals. So I created SMART goals for parents to get them to really understand what SMART goals are. And the character, that's my favorite piece of the book. The character, I believe the character is everything. The character defines you. So in the character piece, I break down, helping your child understand and develop strong character. Identify if your child got a friend that you don't never see, you hear about, and he can't come to your house, you need them red flags. Just start giving them, because we all know kids, their peers are more important than their parents. We all know that. Absolutely. So I'm teaching parents how to identify this might not be the right kid for your child, and these are the red flags you need to look for. If you say, listen, me and John going, and I tell kids in the part, if you tell the kids, say, listen, we're all going to the show tonight, but then they say, while we at the show, let's go and steal out the Wawa. That shows you're not with a good character dude, because they got some other hidden agendas. And on the other, and then we talk about how those guys they can be starting to hate. And then if you don't identify that your child is in a situation where kids are hating on them, your child might mold and become that other person. And then that's when we get to crime. Like you said, you fall in and become those legendary or just family traits of gangsters. Okay, so and that's why I kind of wrote it. It'll be out at the end of this month, finally. But this is finally. It took me 100 edits because then I was like, my ADHD set in, so my editor was like, John, you got to fix this. I'm like, no, it's fixed. It's fixed. No, you got to go and fix this. So then, because just Tamara, I laugh because my first year in Westchester, I had to take this zero writing class. I got into the school, and I remember I did my paper and I turned it in, and the lady, she just put on the back, I need to talk to you.
Oh. That was your post-it note, huh?
That was my post. It wasn't no red pen. No, she said, I need to talk to you. But that was, she saved my life with that. She said, your rating skills are not at college level, but I'm going to get you there. And she got me some help, and I got my skills, and I was able to write all my papers the whole time in undergrad.
That's awesome.
So when you said that, that triggered me. That was my trigger. Like, damn,
you over here triggering us, right?
You triggered the mess out of me. Because when somebody don't even mark your papers, I just need to talk to you. You know you bad off.
I've actually done that too. That's why I'm cracking up. I've just been like, we need to have a conversation.
So and also, I love working with young men, young boys. So my Cameron group extends to mental health therapy as well. So I'm a therapist too. I'm working on my licensure now to become a licensed mental health counselor. So I'm working at another place. This is your center, so I'm under their umbrella. But my Cameron group is, part of that. And I've been blessed. I got so many clients, I had to start giving them other people. Right. It's just a blessing in the sky because it wasn't always like
funny because I had a referral for you of a young group in I'm gonna say Northeast Philadelphia, kind of sort of. It's probably more North Philly than it is East. But anyway, and I was like, John is busy. Like, I don't know if he could do a whole group of people and on it because they wanted, like how I am for the girls, they wanted you to be available every other week for their activities to provide that mental health character, just support, because the streets is trying to pull the attention of the young ones. And I was like, John or my co-host Del Rico, either one of y'all, I was like, y'all the only two I know of seasoned age that can connect with young people, because everybody else is like, yeah, no, we could just have lollipops. And no, we can't just have no lollipops. We gotta have real talk. Like, okay,
I told the kids, I ain't got no lollipops for you. Like I can go down to Smyrna prison in Smyrna, Delaware, and I know 40% of them clientele because I raised them. I literally raised these boys, and they're grown men now. But but they'll say, "This Cameron raised me," because I had you for like 2-3 years. Because in Delaware was, of course, one of the last to switch over where a kid committed like adult crime. They didn't have a place for you. They just kept them with all the kids. So you could have killed somebody, and I could just stole a car, but we roommates. Now imagine the mentality. I got 6 months. You got juvenile life plus the years you're gonna get. So actually, one of the DuPont wives.
That don't even sound right. Juvenile life and years.
Right. Yeah. So that's what made that school so intense. But then, like I said, it changed over to doing more therapeutic. We was able to move the young men with serious charges out. So, like I said, and I just like the next phase of my life is going to be helping and serving. Young men. I got the good thing. I got a lot of men 25, 30 years old, which I was shocked about that.
That's a blessing now.
Which is, that's really talking and trying to get these demons out of them. So that's pretty much what I do. I'm trying to, I might need your help, man. I'm trying to set up a group for 7th and 8th graders. So if anybody got any 7th and 8th grader boys, I want to just create a group. It's free. You don't have to worry about nothing. I'm just going to do some little coaching with them.
You doing it by way of Zoom or you meeting in the park?
Zoom right now, but eventually I'm gonna go to the park.
Okay.
But Zoom right now, But that's pretty
Right.
much about me. I'm just one of the people that I had to go through the rough road and learn my skills, and I appreciate getting to this level.
Mm-hmm.
And the book will be out at the end of the month, and I'm gonna go from there.
So how can people contact you to getting the book if they're
Okay.
interested in that?
It'll be on my website, www.thecamerongroup.info. So it'll be there. Where they can shoot me email info@thecamerongroup.info. I'm on.
So it's www the Cameron Group.
www.thecamerongroup.info.
Okay.
Okay. Or they can email me at info@thecamerongroup. I'm on Instagram at the Cameron Group. Facebook, the Cameron Group. And keep it real.
I see. That branding is serious. Yes.
Yeah, but people want to, they want to call me and do some talking to their peers, some bookings and stuff like that. That's the fastest way to catch. Or just call me at 484-274-8459. Awesome. I don't sleep, so you can call me anytime.
We are not interrupting the new family that you have with your young daughter calling you at some midnight talking about.
My peanut don't sleep. She don't sleep neither.
She got that right from you then.
She don't sleep. She'll go to bed around 4, wake up. She just don't sleep, and then she'll be ready for the day. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's pretty much.
You already know what that's gonna look like in a school day, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna mom do it.
All right.
I'll let my wife do it.
That's a shame. Wife, I was trying to help out.
Then I'll get tired. I'm like, I think I'm going to bed, y'all. I'll catch y'all.
Well, thank you. So the 5 pillars of leadership for Black boys, the Parents Guide with John Cameron and the Cameron Group. Definitely, with the experience of you working as an educator, a therapist, feet to the ground, side by side with a lot of other people, like that's needed.
I swear sometimes I can be like, God, why you pick me for this? But I know though, because I just unfortunately, Mary, I done lost a lot of students in these last 25 years. Between Paris school and working in Philadelphia, I did a stint at Youth Study Center for a little bit, but most of my time was at Ferris School and in school, Philadelphia School District. And I used to go to the funeral sometimes, but I realized you can't do that neither. You have to you just gotta remember who they are. One of my students, on Christmas Day, they sent me a video. I don't know if you might have heard about this one, Mary, about the comedian who got killed on Instagram Live.
No.
And what happened was, because he's a budding comedian, they thought it was a joke, but the guy really killed him. And
oh my gosh,
it was deep. Because he could hear him saying, yo, I'm on live. Don't shoot me. But we gotta do something. I just feel though I want to do my part. I don't know if it's the right thing, but I'm gonna do something.
And that's what I try to tell people. We get distracted by looking over the shoulder at what the other person is doing. Focus on your piece of the pie, and make sure that your pie is solid, and just trust that yours is solid and it's gonna match somebody's puzzle wonderfully. Because you can't control what other people is doing.
It's all good.
And their journey and process is different, so they may be on a different puzzle than yours, but we all working.
We all have a goal at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So Tamara, you've been doing some wonderful things too over here. Cousin COVID came and flipped the script, and I always say snatch the wig off. But I know at one point I saw you like getting all dolled up and singing and stuff and doing performances. I was like, okay. So like we on the stage talking about melanated educators and creating, BLM week and stuff like that. But what's going on over here?
Well, I mean, like, so definitely like my background is in education. I went from taught in Chicago public schools, New York public schools, Philly public schools, and then left and went to work at with a dropout population because I thought that was a natural, unexpected progression of what I was seeing with my students, right? But in the midst of all this, while all that was going on, I've also been a professional actor since 2000. I did my first union show. And so doing theater, being really blessed and fortunate to do TV, commercials, film, things like that. It's always funny when your students see you on TV. They're like, wait a minute, miss, why are you teaching if you on TV? I'm like,
right.
Right. And
right.
that was great.
How about in my introduction, I'll be like, okay, so during the 7 weeks that we together, you might see me on TMZ and you might see me on NBC 10. But don't worry about that. We're going to get what we got to get together and we're going to work it out. Like, I'm just letting you know that when you hear this same voice in those other places, it's still me.
And I think that was like how I started talking to my students about the journey. The journey, teaching is a part of my journey, right? It wasn't like, oh, you made it, so now you stop doing one thing. And so during, of course, at the beginning, and I'm like a diversity coach, like for a couple of different organizations, and with the National Black Lives Matter at school. So I had seen some publishing happening. I had a chapter in a book that came out, Haymarket Books, earlier last year. I just had another publication that I actually did with my daughter. She did the visual art in the pieces, a multimodal pieces, poetry, visual art, and scholarship, and called The Erasure of Black Women. And that's with Swarthmore University on the critical policy, education, critical policy ed. If you just like Google it, it kind of will come up. It's an amazing piece that really talks about, Rosa Parks as a sexual assault investigator. It talks about the trauma of Nina Simone when she first heard about the 4 little girls. It talks about the sexual assault to prison pipeline for Black girls. We always talk about. So taking all that energy,
that's a lot.
I was also sitting in a lot of union meetings. I'm a big union person, and a lot of our actors union and SAG, people hear SAG actors. SAG actors like commercial TV film, Actors Equity Associations like Broadway theater, regional theater, that type of stuff. And our unions just didn't know what to do during this time with us. They were furloughing people. People were like, what about my pension? What's happening with that? There's a lot of stuff happening. And of course, a lot of theaters are coming out about their racism, instances of sexual harassment, but being a Black woman working in theater, none of this was a shock because I have seen it. Like, okay.
Right.
So my question started to be, what are you going to do about it besides having all these town hall conversations? Because if I have one more conversation, I'm going to tear my hair out my head.
Right. Because we're talking and ain't doing nothing.
Right. And it was a lot of artists who were like, come do our virtual cabaret, but they weren't offering any money. Or come do such and such, but they weren't offering da-da-da. And I was like, okay, so money's an issue. A lot of my friends who are artists were trying to collect unemployment. Unemployment was, sometimes 90 to 120 days delayed for people. Mutual aid is popping up all over. But nobody's really speaking to the fact of building artistic spaces for Black people by Black people. And so hence Gumbo Lab comes up. I wrote a proposal to Leeway Art and Change grant.
Okay.
And got that to do the solo project. And I was like, oh, well, wait a minute. Maybe I could get some more money to this. And so started putting out applications and really had our first solo project. It was 4 artists. 2 were Philly artists. One was out of Chicago, one was out of the Bronx. The solo project is under the Gumbo Lab, but the solo project is specifically for Black women, Black femmes, Black trans, non-binary women, like who are like not non-binary peeps who are like, I want to do a solo show. I also did not want to limit it by age, so I didn't do the whole emergent artist thing. Intergenerational. I also wanted to make a space people got paid. So I was able to successfully, after 2 months of work, hire a bunch of amazing Black. Each artist got partnered with a Black director and a Black cinematographer. They also got 11 professional workshops taught to them in voiceovers, acting, on camera, auditioning, things like that. How to build a website, how to build your brand. That woodworking I talk about is really important. Like, what are you doing to like get yourself together for this life, right? I also provided the workshops. Even if you didn't make the cohort, the workshops were open to you too.
Okay.
Because I built and believe this building community. And so we had a very successful 3 shows that were produced. They were done on the Hopin virtual platform. All these shows were virtually directed, produced, and curated. People literally in the audience, like, I've never seen anything like this before. Like, y'all didn't like see each other. Like, y'all got this together across state lines. That changes the game. You know, no longer can a director be like, well, I can't work with you because we're not in the same city. Not to mention accessibility. I have people who have never been able to go see a live show because of physical disabilities or because of like immune issues. And so over 130 people saw the shows over 2 weekends. Now we are now that's going to be a permanent thing. We're getting ready for our 2nd annual solo project happening this fall. We're also about to produce our first 10-minute film festival in the spring of 2022.
Okay.
And we are almost to the point of being a permanent YouTube channel. So we're at 77 subscribers, trying to get to 100 and beyond that, so that everything will be virtual and a permanent channel. So, so people ask, like, after this is over, which I love that. After this is over,
that's like a fake question.
Are you gonna start producing like live materials? And I'm not saying I'm not, but this is a market. This is a huge market, and it's something I definitely fell into by just doing mini concerts and quarantines of my own. Also being asked to like produce voting concerts for people, because what happened is I just learned these platforms really quickly. And so I was able to like parlay that and help and assist a lot of people to make their lives happen. But also like having like impromptu concerts. Like I just did a Facebook concert, I think March, when we first shut down. We ended up having artists from Brazil, LA. Everybody kind of came through. They all had a pay what you can bucket so they could get a little money. And so yeah, so I think for me it was also like, after 15 years in this business, like what can you give and offer? What can you pay it forward to other people? Like, what have you learned from this? What have you, and it's also a space that I love because it's a space where I can be all of me. I could be an organizer, producer, an actor, an educator, all in the same space, as opposed to splitting myself down the middle every time. So, yeah. This is good. And the shows were amazingly beautiful. So hopefully you can still check out clips at our YouTube channels. Go to Gumbo Lab YouTube channel. You can also find information. And we have a regular mailing list called What's Cooking that comes out every Thursday. You can sign up for that at www.gumbolab.com. And I also have a new solo show coming out with original music this summer. It has a bad word in it, so I can't really say it, but it's bang bang. It's 3 love. It's Black Blank Cape. You just fill it in. That's what it is. And so more information about that will be on the website, and also like how people, and the 10-minute film festival is also going to be intergenerational. We're also going to have a category for middle schoolers, 7th and 8th graders to submit.
Okay, wait, you're talking too fast. My fingers can't capture it all. The YouTube channel is what?
The Gumbo Lab. Just go to Gumbo Lab and YouTube, the Gumbo Lab, and it literally pops up. But if you
Okay.
go to www.gumbolab.com, you don't have to go. Everything is in one space at the website.
Got you. Okay, I'm with you now. I got you. I got you.
And we also have shirts. We have a swag store. So if you want shirts and hoodies, that type of stuff, if you want to support the cause, all those proceeds go like towards the art.
Sound good. I like that.
Sounds good. The one thing that I was fascinated about, and I know that you may not show it just because of, I don't know, you showed me because I'm girlfriends. But that in the midst of this whole virtual life that you created something very instrumental to your career. Would you like to share what that is that you created? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
It's
Yes.
uh-huh.
I built a voiceover booth to really, because I get voiceover auditions and they were great, but I just felt like, so it's one of those examples where you're like, I'm doing exactly what I tell people not to do. I'm submitting auditions and being like, whoo, I got a call back by the grace of Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't really, I was MacGyvering my product. I also wasn't pivoting quick enough because I was used to going into the studio for my auditions, looking it in New York, and then coming back home. So I was like, okay, let me make this happen. So what I did is I basically pimped out a portable wardrobe. And I literally put soundproofing around where the curtains would be. And it has Christmas lights all inside. When you turn the lights off, what's happening? And then it literally has the soundproofing for the mic and the windscreen. And I have a clothesline inside to hold script so I can see. And then right outside is a little bench that I put pillows on that I maximized out. And on that bench is a laptop that goes straight to Adobe Audition so that I could do. Other than that, I signed up for this wonderful coach. He was amazing out of New York, really affordable. He's just great. Like in 3 sessions, he had my EQ sounding juicy and yummy. And so now it's that. But I also, too, what I didn't tell you, Mary, is that in the show that I just wrote, I wrote 8 original songs. So I've been working with musicians. And so we are getting down to the last 2 songs. And they sound amazing. And I'm just really excited about that. And so having a private reading at the end of this month for a small group of people to kind of get some feedback. And then really taking this genre, because that's really what it is. Like some people are like, oh, you just did like short films, but they're very theatrical. Like when people see the products, they're like, oh my God, like being at a play, but it's kind of not, like when they come to the Hopping Space, they have pre-show music, all the different stuff happening. And you get tickets, you watch a show. My mom's in Chicago and she's living her best life. Her and her retired friends are like, this is great. You gave us a whole schedule to do stuff. And we got to think about that. Like, do people want to pay $250 to go back to Broadway to sit 20 people apart? And people don't realize that backstage in theater, our dressing rooms are like this big, and we always got sick before COVID. Always had upper respiratory issues. Always. Every show I've been in, I've held myself together with Tiger Balm and hopes and dreams. And so, because they also, even though you quote unquote have an understudy, the show must go on is the theme. And so I have lost people. I have experienced like suicide in my life the day of a show. And I was told like, and I'm out here singing, I know where I've been in Hairspray, trying to hold on to life. And you gotta do this show. And so I think, and it's something about like going to a callback TV show, and all I gotta do is run to my living room. Like, you can kind of see my background behind me. I also have a screen underneath this. It's a lot of stuff happening in the house, and a ring light over here. So my thing is that like it's something I don't think people realize. Like to get yourself together, go to New York for just 5 minutes, and literally be on your way back home. Your agent's like, you gotta get back there tomorrow morning. You're like. And so like you get back there, you do it. Now I'm literally just running to my here, do my audition, booking work, right? And also now, up in my voiceover game where I'm able, like literally the day, show you how God works. The day I was like, I gotta get the studio together. I got this email for this big audition. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So I was like putting it like super together, throwing pipes up. Maya's like, we're never moving. You keep building stuff. We're never leaving. I was like, this, I'll stay here forever. She was like, and if we move, how are we gonna put the stuff out? That's what moving companies are for. And so it's like, basically having that type of thing. Like I hosted an impromptu New Year's Eve show, had like 600 people tune in.
Wow.
And some people are just like, I just love hearing your stories. Maya came and sang with me, did some stuff because she writes music. And it's not to be like, ooh, look at me, I'm important. It's also to it's also to celebrate that even in the midst of crazy, art and music and theater is how we get through this. And even gumbo, people are like, how do you know gumbo lab? I said, because when I cook for people, that's how decisions are made. That's how, I've made pies. I have a pie baking thing I used to do, all different stuff.
Yes, the meetings will be banging when you brought the pie.
It's about, so I get the peach cobbler. Everybody's like, I got a corner. It was good. I just like whatever. So having food at events and Gumbo Lab made me realize, like the minute I heard the name, I said, oh, this like really hits me in my spirit. And people will ask, well, when are you going to work with like white production companies? Of course, on my terms though. And at the center of those terms are Black artists. So yeah.
Sound good.
It does sound good. Sounds like a lot.
A lot.
That sounds like some ADHD going on right there.
Oh yeah.
Ain't nobody giving out no diagnosis without the copay. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, I'm totally. That's why Sundays are so like Sunday mornings are so sacred. Or like they used to be for church, and I still do virtual, but like afternoon, I don't. For people like can we plan something? I'm like I'm going straight to bed. I'm gonna curl up in the ball, me and my cat, like that. Right. And also knowing that, like I think as I get older, I'm able to better say no. I'm better able to build parameters, but also like it was also nice to get all your paperwork together and not be like a bootleg company and be like, okay, let me make this all official and let me like roll out an actual fundraiser. Like Gumbo Lab actually has a fiscal sponsor now too. So it's wonderful. And all this has happened like in less than a year, which lets me know that it's supposed to happen. But also lets me know, it also confirms like what we talked about, whatever, the journey. Like at first I thought there's no way I could do this without realizing that everything I've done up to this point has actually prepared me for exactly.
Absolutely.
You led you to it.
So thank you for your yes on a Sunday evening.
Oh, well,
this is just self-care moment.
I told you I took a nap because if I had, I'd have been like, John, you go. You'd have been like, what about your? I'd have been like, I don't know. I mean, it's good. That's all you would have got. Be like that. That's all. You not saying nothing.
Well, thankful for the nap too. If like we've covered a lot. We've covered, like the pre-K, we've covered violence, we've covered like all the things that we touch on in educating and mentoring and providing therapeutic supports, artistic stuff, like pouring into people, like making sure that they just stay well throughout, no matter what the situation. What would be some closing thoughts that you would share with the audience as we wind down and wrap up?
Ooh, take care. I want to piggyback what John said.
Okay.
Put that mask on first. Really self-reflect and be unafraid to see the ugly and the pretty and the mediocre and the just okay, so that you can prepare not just yourself for greatness,
right,
but everyone around you, your children, your family that depends upon you.
Right.
And be okay that greatness is your greatness. Stop choosing the greatness you see across the lawn.
That's big across the lawn, because we always comparing ourselves to somebody else and saying, okay, we must be deficient because we're not doing it like them.
Yep.
Yeah, your assignment is your assignment.
That's right. I just want to say, my dad used to tell me, "What's for you will be for you," and focus on yourself. You know, we all got to focus on your skills. Don't worry about what everybody's doing. I'm saying the same thing, but focus on your skills. Sharpen that skill you got though. Sharpen it. Make it sharp like a knife. And to our parents, I want to tell you, don't give up, but we gotta reclaim our kids. We gotta reclaim our kids back. Because there's always gonna be hoods, there's always gonna be ghettos, there's always gonna be violence. But a lot of us grew up in that same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The same thing. So let's not use that as an excuse. Let's grab our kids and save our kids.
Right. And take accountability. Like, it's no shame in taking accountability, but that's that authentic reality of just, peeling back the layers. I'm always saying peeling back the layers and pouring something into it. Like you gotta just be honest with what the reality is. Like, if you have secondary gains from them being out in the streets, we need to sit down at the table and figure out how you don't need those streets to make sure that's your survival, and how you can build skills in other ways. Because we all also shared at one point throughout this lovely conversation about, just stepping back and saying, okay, it's not just one basket of skills that you have. What's all in your basket? What all can you do, so that when one thing doesn't, pan out the way that you thought, you're not fully dependent on that. Especially if you're in this entrepreneur life, like, whew, child.
Yeah.
You better
One
be
person.
Right. You'd be surprised. And also those skills give you flexibility. It also actually gives you flexibility to go take a nap. People laugh at my little naps, but I was like, I can take a nap. Because I can literally schedule my contract.
Exactly.
That's why when I look at when people like, if this don't work out, like, would you ever take a full-time job? Let's talk about my testimony. I haven't had a full-time job since 2012.
That's right. I hear that.
You still be like this, like every fall asleep.
Right. Given that sometimes I was like, whoo.
Right.
But I would never like go back to and I think that's why a lot of my students stay in contact. They'll be like, oh my God, miss, I was binge watching The Blacklist. And there you were. I was like,
because you're the inspiration, though. You're the inspiration.
And they were like, I was just thinking, like, I'll stop dancing because I just had this baby, but I'm about to get back in the dance class after I saw that. Yes. Yes, you can. Like, these are things that are possible. We have to one thing I really hope that we really, really, really figure out is we have to bring back freedom dreaming to ourselves and our children.
Truth.
And I'm not talking about these little baby things like, oh, maybe cops could just leave us alone. I'm talking about like big dreams, like you don't even need no cops in your neighborhood, because this is
when
the
you
place.
live, it don't go down like that.
Right.
And that's why my quote for closing out anything that I do, that freedom lies in being bold.
True. I like that.
Yeah.
Freedom lies in being bold. Like, no matter how you apply it, you got to be bold to step out there to do what it is that you're intended to do. And as long as you stay in alignment with what you find as your purpose, the cards are going to fall where they need to fall. It might be some uncomfortable falls, but everything that's uncomfortable is to build you up in that journey of your assignment.
Ooh, say it. Yeah.
Yes.
It's nothing like looking backwards. I tell people all the time, like that is actually how success stories should be taught. It's looking back, not looking at all the wonderful
the lights and
Right.
It's like literally let them take you backwards.
Right. Yes. So again, I do thank you both for your yes. It has
Thank
been a
you.
wonderful conversation. Sorry that my co-host is unavailable, but we still rocked it out. Like,
This
he
is
had
his
to catch the
birthday. It's his
replay.
birthday.
It's his
It's his
birthday.
birthday.
And and this was good. This was good. I'm definitely
Yes.
gonna be reaching out to you, John. I'm gonna get
Oh
your
yeah, I'm gonna stay in touch with you, Tamara. We gotta stay in touch, okay?
yeah.
Definitely. Okay. And like I said,
Especially
y'all.
you can edit with the one eye and the post-it notes. Be like,
Now I know. I'm writing. You know what, Tamara? I'm writing another one on a book on emotional intelligence for boys. So I'm gonna reach out to you. So
yeah. No, I do. I have a whole editing website. That's a whole
okay,
different
I'm gonna reach out to you for that one.
Mary's like this.
because she just wore me out with that. Like, come on.
No, but Tamara, you triggered me when you started talking about the students. I was like,
No, you should have seen your face and Mary's face when I mentioned red. That's all I'm going to say. I want to go back
Because
and
in
watch
writing this book that I just did, and I got to do my leadership book, but in doing the anthology, like they kept sending it back to me, and I was like, well, this is good, like this is good. They wanted me to cut off these last 2.5 paragraphs, but I was like, no, this is important. Like we gotta keep this. Until they said we sending you the final draft. We just want you to see it before we go all the way through. And I was like,
they made a decision for you,
they made the decision. I was like looking like,
oh yeah, I'm like, I got a digital red pen now.
Woo.
I go through PDFs. People send me PDFs thinking I can't do it. I'm like this, highlight. I put an X highlight. I be like this.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna reach out to you for the other one though.
yeah,
I can take it. I couldn't take it when I was 18. I can take it now.
I thought I could take it, John. I couldn't take it because I had LaJoya Camp that came on, and the way she sent the thing back with all the X's and O's, it just took me back to like, okay, somebody did tell me that this is gonna be a challenge for me in life. They said just write how you speak and you'll be fine. Something happens in the synapses. It don't. That's all I got is it don't.
I mean, we all do it. I have to do it. My mom, I might send my mom stuff, and my mom still to this day, I edit her church newsletter. Literally.
Okay.
She literally be like, and like she'll give me little hints if I forget. Did you see it? I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, I'm getting to it. I was like, I actually have other work that's like paying my bills right now, but that's my mother. She's like this.
Like,
right.
Ann?
Right. You should have. It should be done by now, right? It should be done by now.
She's like, that's why I sent it to you over the weekend because I know Sundays, whatever, but Saturday you work. I was like, oh, now you know my schedule. Now you just spitting it back out.
Right. That's awesome. Well, again, thank you all. Thank you, audience, especially those who have stuck it out with us throughout this entire 2 hours and 17 minutes. We greatly appreciate you for those who were here, as well as those who catch us on the replay. It is Chocolate Crown, Kings and Queens in the community, rocking it out, building bridges. As you heard, they like, oh, I'm calling you for this, and we calling you for that. That's what this platform is for. When we say we're spotlighting Black owned businesses, it's the purpose so that we can build the bridges. So if there's any show that you want to see from April to now, head us up on the YouTube channel, Butterfly Love Consultations LLC, and every episode is available. Like and share and follow us. So talk to you all very, very soon.
All right.